Well, that sure wasn't pretty, but we'll take it.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's, who, in my heart and your heart, will always be rooted in Oakland, unless, of course, you're from Philadelphia or Kansas City. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, by all means, call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now. This is my sixth season here at the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm also the host of the Locked On MLB podcast, so you got 2 episodes with me a day if you subscribe correctly. And check out some of the really, really great shows on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is indeed your team every day. We had Bryce Patrick on recently from Locked On Rangers, the great Stacey Gotsulias host, Locked On Yankees. We're going to have, hopefully we're going to have Ben Kaspick from Locked On Giants this week on this show, and on Locked On MLB, we'll probably have the good folks at Locked On Blue Jays. It's fun times. We have fun times here in Locked On A's. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. Where's my lower third? There it is. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, or whatever it is, and Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you're listening to us every day, and I see that some of you are, make sure to put, if you're going to social media, make sure to post that hashtag EverydayA's, so we have an idea of who the heck is listening to us. All right. Show of hands. How many thought the game was over when the A's coughed up a 5-run lead in the fifth inning, and the Braves took that 9-8 lead? Show of hands. I want you to be honest with me and post it in the comment section. When they took the lead, you thought it was over. I thought it was over, and I even yelled words that I do not want to say out loud. I was driving. I took my dog, Eleanor, to the beach today, and right around the time the game was starting, got her back into the car. We're driving back from the beach, and I'm listening to the game. And by the time I get in the car, it's already 2-2. I'm thinking, oh boy, that's interesting, because Chris Sale, who has been an absolute revelation, and of course, all my Red Sox fan friends are like, why can't we get a pitcher like Chris Sale? I don't want to hear it from any Red Sox fan. Every Red Sox fan in the world thought Chris Sale was cooked, and that they got a decent young second base prospect in exchange for him. But Sale pitched an unbelievable month of May. I mean, he was completely unstoppable. And so when I saw that he was the starting pitcher for the A's, I wish he was the starting pitcher for the A's, that Brooks was starting for the A's and Chris Sale was pitching for Atlanta, I said, file that under yikes. I'm going to baseballreference.com, the single greatest website in the history of the planet Earth. And if you take a look at his splits for this year, in the month of April, he was good. I don't really like looking at win-loss records. He was 3-1, but it doesn't tell me much of anything. But it's 3.69 ERA, 5 starts, averaged more than 6 innings a start, more than a strikeout an inning, only walked 7. That's vintage Chris Sale. Okay, I said I don't like to look at the win-loss record, but the fact that he made 5 starts and his record was 5-0, that doesn't always tell you something. But then when you look at all the other numbers, his ERA was 0.56. He struck out 45 batters in the month of May in 32 innings. He only walked 2. He let up 2 runs in May. Not a game in May, the whole damn month. 2 runs. So, yeah, I thought the A's were going to be in a situation where it was going to look bad. And if you had told me that the A's were going to face Chris Sale and their pitching would let up 9 runs, I just assumed, hell, I'd pitch at that point. At that point, I'd say Vegas would be waving their hands, we don't want him. On the other hand, if you told me that the A's would be up 8-2 or 8-3, sorry, in the fourth inning, and you say there would be a chance that game would be tied, yeah, okay, I'd buy that more. So Chris Sale, who let up 2 runs in May, let up 8 runs today to Oakland. And yes, I know the A's can have an offense that can break through a little bit. But what has been the big problem that the A's have had? They rely too much on the long ball, and they always have that one dumb inning. Well, boy, oh boy, did they have the one dumb inning today. Now, Toro. I love me Toro, okay? He threw that ball into the dirt when the Braves were starting to rally. They were starting to rally, and he made that error and on the throw to first base that prolonged the inning. And we all thought, Marcell Ozuna's coming up. Marcell Ozuna's coming up. This is not going to be good. In fact, this is going to be the opposite of good. You know the other thing? That thing that's called bad? And at that point, I remember I was in the car. I looked over at Eleanor, the dog. The dog looked at me, and I said, Ellie, they're going to blow this lead. And Eleanor, being a dog, didn't respond in words, but looked at me as only a dog can and say, yeah, this doesn't look good. May I have another biscuit? And lo and behold, in the most predictable thing that ever happened, Marcell Ozuna got a hit to make it 8-6. Then they pulled Brooks. Matt Olson comes out, hits a home run into the chop shop or whatever the hell it's called there in the park where it blows my mind that since 1996, the Braves had one stadium and then they had another stadium. And the A's can't get crap in 2 cities. I went to a game at Turner Field that used to be the Olympic Stadium and then became Turner Field. It was a nice stadium. Do you know what I wish they could have done? Now it's being used as a football stadium or something. Do you know what I wish they could have done? I wish they could have just dug all around Turner Field and picked it up and brought it across country and go to the parking lot at the Oakland Coliseum, dig a big hole, and push it in. We'd take Turner Field in a heartbeat. It's a nice stadium. It's better than the Coliseum. It's not a very big bar to leap over, but that's a stadium that was open for the 96 Olympics, and then the Braves moved into it for the 97 season. Better get them a new ballpark. Well, I guess it's Atlanta, where they have a lot of tech companies who invest in it. So, yeah, that makes sense because there's not a lot of tech companies in Northern California. I digress. So when that happened and up stepped Olson and he launched that home run to tie the game, I almost drove my car into the Pacific Ocean. And then Adam Duvall got a base hit. And then all of a sudden what was an 8-3 lead became a 9-8 deficit. And I was yelling at the radio. I was listening to it on the A's cast. And Eleanor, the dog, was also howling at it. So we both agreed that at one point I felt that Kotze was trying to manage to make sure Brooks got a win. Brooks. Not Brooks from Shawshank Redemption, Aaron Brooks. And Aaron Brooks, I'm sure, is a nice enough guy. He went to Cal State San Bernardino. As someone who's a product of the Cal State system, I love that. And Aaron Brooks has had some bad luck in his career. He played on the 2015 World Champion Kansas City Royals, but didn't actually play didn't play for them in the postseason because he was traded to the A's for Ben Zobrist. So while he pitched for the Royals that year, he didn't pitch for them in the World Series. But the next year he was acquired by the Cubs, 2016. He was on the Cubs. The Cubs went to the World Series, and he was in the minor leagues all year long. He bounced around he went back to the A's, Orioles. He played for the Cardinals a few years ago, he's now playing for the A's now. He's bounced around a lot. He's been playing for over a decade, and he hasn't recorded a win since 2019. He has not put a win in the win column. Now, I don't really care about wins and losses. I don't think they tell you much of anything about the quality of a pitcher, especially nowadays since they pull every pitcher after 5 1/3 innings. You're probably not going to see a lot of 20-game winners or things like that. So I got the sense that Kotsay wanted him to get the win, especially because he had such a big, huge lead. It's like, Aaron Brooks beat Chris Sale. But it was also clear that he was cooked. It was clear that things were not going right in the 5th inning, and they needed to do something. And by the time they pulled the plug on him, and yes, the error messed some stuff up, but I got the sense that they didn't have the hook fast enough on that. So don't manage for the win. Don't care about that. I don't even look at the record anymore. I mentioned the Chris Sale one because there was a certain symmetry of 5 starts, 5 wins, and all this other stuff. But it doesn't really tell you how they played. Remember, A's fans, remember Storm Davis when they won the World Series in 1989? Storm Davis had an ERA over 4, averaged 5 innings a start, and won 19 games because he had the A's offense and then Nelson, Honeycutt, and Eckersley to close all of his games. The win-loss record can be deceptive. So they don't manage for that. Then they brought in poor McFarland, who got his butt whipped. And I'm sitting there driving on the California highways with a sandy dog thinking, well, this game's lost. But it wasn't. And that's a good thing. Hey, let's hear a little bit from our friends over at Supply House. You get supplies from the site that's making the best choices for all skilled trades. Supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door. With fast shipping from coast to coast, need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros of the skilled trades get a competitive edge by joining Supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Hey, where is your hub for all your sports info? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring the biggest stories for all your sports needs. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. You got to give the A's credit on one big thing. They had the dumb inning. They did. The dumb inning was the 5th. But the thing they avoided doing was relying on the long ball. They got a long ball from Miguel Andujar. That's how you're supposed to say his name. And he has been phenomenal since joining the A's, a week and a half ago. And yes, he got a home run, and Rooker got his 12th home run. But here's the deal. They got a lot more than that. Andujar got 4 hits. That's not bad. Schuemann, who had the bonehead error a couple of days ago, he got 4 hits. That's 8 hits between the two of them. and only one of those hits was a home run. Toro scored a run. Rooker got a double and a homer. Langoliers got a hit. Cameron got 2 hits and drove in a pair of runs early. Blade got a hit. Geloff got a hit and a walk and scored a run along the way. Diaz got a hit and scored a run. And Cameron got a stolen base. There was all sorts of things they did. And the fact that you had 2 players combining for 8 hits on a Chris Sale start, and it bailed out the reluctance to get Brooks, a no decision. Ultimately, he got the no decision. So did Sale, for that matter. But when it just absolutely stunned me that when it was 9-8, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be fun. It's going to be 19-8. Rooker came right back. Schuemann got on base right away, got them right back on their heels. And before you know it, Rooker hit that great drive that ricocheted off the wall, brought in Schuemann, and Andujar, it was aggressive send. The game was already tied. They sent in Andujar. And Andujar wound up getting the hit to drive in Schuemann in the in the 8th inning. But what does that also tell you what happened? That you saw it was an absolute sluggerino fest going into the 6th inning. And the A's continued that, tacking on 3 more runs after the 6th inning. But the A's didn't let up any runs. Okay, they pushed McFarland in. Brooks and McFarland combined for 9 runs and 9 hits and a pair of walks along the way. O'Loughlin let up a couple of hits. Kelly bailed them out. Alexander pitched well. Adams bailed out Alexander, and Adams had that great little fist pump. Oh my God, they're not bringing in Miller. They're not bringing in Miller. Be honest. How many of you thought that when the moment you saw someone other than Miller was on the mound, you thought, oh my God, is he having Tommy John surgery? 1. And 2, oh my God, they're going to lose this game. And Jimenez let up a hit. We all thought that game was over. It wasn't, but we all thought it. Be honest with me. And be honest with me, when Duvall was up there and fouled a bunch off, including that long drive, that hooked foul, when things happen, especially after that terrible game in Tampa Bay, pick your choice of which heartbreaking game in Tampa Bay. And that the A's played well on Friday, too. It was a relatively close game that they lost to Atlanta. You're thinking like, oh, my God, why aren't you bringing in Miller? Why aren't you bringing in Miller? You're going to hand him the series right now. You're going to hand him. Why is Jimenez pitching? What the hell is going on here? And my dog was looking at me and said, stop yelling. I can't follow baseball. And I know some of you are thinking, get a better mic or something. And I will. I just haven't got a chance to do it yet. And then Jimenez got the called 3rd strike. And there was much rejoicing. And, oh, by the way, the ancestral home of the A's is, of course, Philadelphia. And I can tell you right now, as the Phillies wound up beating the Cardinals today and got good news that the ball that hit Ranger Suarez's hand was not a fracture, I guarantee you every Philadelphia fan was waving a flag and saying, thank you, A's. Thank you. Because when they look up and they know that their chief rival just scored 9 runs on a Chris Sale start, and they got to pick up a whole game in the standings. The Phillies, by the way, are up 7.5 games on the Atlanta Braves. But the Braves are obviously a good team. And for the Phillies, they know every one of these games they win now is a game they don't have to win later. So they could look up and say, wow, the Braves gave Chris Sale 9 runs and they lost? Why, thank you, Oakland. And Oakland can say, you're welcome, our former brethren in Philadelphia. And of which my dog would say, woof. Let's talk to our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It's the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more than or less than on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. All right. So who do they have? Who are some of the prize picks? You have see they're saying Jose Altuve is going to be over 6 total bases, and Bobby Witt is going to be over 9. There you go for their hit fantasy score. There you go. Just put those two in and watch the money come rolling in. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has you covered every week. From lowering select player stats projections on Tuesday, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. There's always action on Prize Picks, and this is the perfect time to try something new as the NBA season is winding down. Make sure to try out esports this month, because for every Wednesday and Saturday in June, if your lineup doesn't win, you'll get your entry fee back. Choose from Counter, Strike 2, Call of Duty, League of Legends, and more. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy. This is a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. Okay, more than one person has asked me to address something that has been floating around and has been forwarded to me regarding the finances of John Fisher. It's a Reddit thread that has been floating around about the fact that he is. The Reddit thread is just bizarre to me. That's talking about how he doesn't have a good enough credit rating to get the loans he needs. And I'm not 100% sure I understand everything here. That he needs to get a loan, and he's hired Goldman Sachs, and they're unable to find anyone who'd certify the A's with it, ironically with an A grade or higher, and that John Fisher's wealth is based upon things that are not liquid. Like, he would have to sell the A's at a $1.4 billion value if he wants the $1.4 billion. That he has valuation of the earthquakes and certain amounts of money from his Gap stock and his ownership in the Coliseum site, but that he is not nearly close to having the money to get investors interested in putting up money for the team, especially with him maintaining control of it. I've had at least 4 people send me this same Reddit thread. And it's the thing about it that makes me wonder if there's any fire to that smoke is that he still doesn't seem to have the money. There still seems to be scrounging around for investors, which is strange because I thought he was loaded and I thought this was a can't miss money opportunity. I've never been a multi-billionaire. I want to stop that rumor right now. But it strikes me as bizarre when very wealthy people say, hey, this is a can't miss money-making scheme. We're going to make piles of money doing this, and then look for like taxpayer money and have trouble getting investors. Investors tend to throw their money at things that will make them piles of money. I was under the impression of that. And if it was making piles of money, they wouldn't have the issue to raise the money and to get public cash as well. Now, I got burned on Locked On MLB for saying what I thought was really happening in the Shohei Ohtani situation. I thought what was happening there was that his buddy piled up a big gambling debt, which did happen. That Ohtani was like, schmuck, all right, I'll pay it back, but don't you do this again. And then did it in a way that was like, oh boy, you shouldn't have done it that way, Shohei. I was just helping a friend. You shouldn't have done it that way. You better tell people he stole it from you. That's what I thought happened. And I said so. I said, hey, this is where the pieces are going here. As it turns out, I was wrong. Turns out I was wrong, and a lot of people took me to task for it, for saying that, putting together a scenario that seemed to make sense to me. I said, this is what I think happened, but I was wrong. And what I should have done was wait for all the facts to come out. So for the people who keep sending me this thing and wanting me to comment on it, I just did comment. I commented it exists, and there are a lot of numbers there, and a lot of people saying SEC filings and this means that, and he has this much. But I can go on Reddit and say Eleanor the dog actually talks to me. And I can say that I am friends with Norse gods, and I could post that on Reddit if I'd like. What I'm saying is I need to see a source that is more reputable than a Reddit thread for me to say, here's why things are going south for the A's and why there's still, again, little details, but what is the stadium? Where will the stadium be? And how will it be paid for? Those three minor details are still left unanswered about the Oakland A's. By the way, they're doing the demolition around the Tropicana site where they're supposedly wanting to build a stadium, and they found a septic tank that exploded. So maybe it is the right place for the A's. They want to make them feel right at home like it was the Oakland Coliseum. I have been reading things about the fact that the city of Salt Lake City seems to have more investors and a stronger ownership that wants to build a baseball village in Salt Lake City that seems to be a hell of a lot more prepared than anything in Las Vegas at this point. Of course, the point I make over and over again, it's very hard to move a baseball team. There's a reason why in my lifetime, since I was born in May of 1972, in my lifetime, one team has moved, the Expos. And that was a type of show that you would get from that septic tank that exploded. And there was already a crumbling stadium for them to move to in Washington. That's the only time in a half century that a team has moved in baseball. I think 4 hockey teams have moved since I started this podcast. And the reason is it's tough to move because there aren't stadiums just sitting there waiting to be played in. So we wait. We wait to see. Are they going to just stay in Sacramento? I am thinking more and more that that's where they're going to go. They're going to stay in Sacramento. But I need a source better than a Reddit thread to make me think, this is what's happening. So if you have any sources like that, send them my way. I don't want confirmation bias. I don't want you to just look for the things that match the narrative I have in my head. I want to know what's really happening here. And not just from Bay Area sources who are mad at Fisher, and not just from Las Vegas sources who want to have the team there. I want to have it from good journalism so I can know what the hell is going on. And I will pass it along to you. All right, Braves A's. By the way, did you notice that the Braves were wearing an alternate uniform? That was kind of cool. It's a powder blue. It kind of resembled the color scheme of the Henry Aaron uniforms of the 70s, but still with the A from the 90s. But over the A for Atlanta, it said the A, which I guess, do people call Atlanta the A? I don't know. I'm not hip anymore. But I thought, so wait a minute. The A's beat the A. You can't have multiple the A's. I want to put a stop to that right now. But the A's are playing on Sunday. And if they win against the Braves, then they will have won a series that I think we all thought was going to be absolutely over and dead. But here we go. So tomorrow afternoon, it's the Sunday, June 2. The A's are going to start Medina against former World Series hero Charlie Morton. Who knows? Didn't think they were going to beat Chris Sale. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Feeling good about a weird win? We'll take it. This has been Locked On A's. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.